there, scientists! Caroline here. In our last lesson, I received an air quality alert, and we looked into what that means, as well as some common factors that influence air quality. In today's lesson, we're going to dive a little deeper into the different types of outdoor air pollution. By the end, we'll be able to determine what caused the air quality alert in my own area, and what this tells us about air pollution as a whole. Ready, scientists? Let's get started. My air quality alert in the last lesson was caused by air pollution. This is when harmful substances are released into the air, lowering air quality. There are a few different kinds of pollution to look out for, but before we get into that, I've got a question for you. When you think of air pollution, what's the very first example that pops into your head? Pause and record your thoughts in your guided notes. For me, I think of smoke from sources like car exhaust or fires. When materials are burned, smoke immediately follows, and it's unhealthy to breathe in. We call this type of pollution primary pollution. It's pollution that's released directly into the air, water, and land, causing harm as soon as it's released. There are several different kinds of primary pollutants that affect air quality. Some, like smoke, are easy to see and smell, while some are invisible or odorless. Smoke is highly visible because it contains a form of primary pollution called particulate matter. Particulate matter is a mixture of solid particles and liquid droplets in the air, and it's what gives smoke its cloudy appearance. Some other sources of particulate matter include dust, soot, and even pollen from plants. But particulate matter isn't the only primary pollutant to watch out for. Burning materials also release harmful gases like carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, and nitrogen oxides. Carbon monoxide is a colorless, odorless gas commonly released by vehicles burning gasoline. Other gases like sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides are colorless, but generally have strong odors. They come from a variety of sources, such as coal-burning power plants, car exhaust, volcanoes, and industrial processes. We also have to be mindful of volatile organic compounds, or VOCs. Sounds fancy, but you can think of VOCs as a broad category of primary pollutants that don't fit into the other categories. Common sources of VOCs include gasoline and car exhaust. But VOCs are also released by everyday consumer products. This includes paint, cleaning supplies, sunscreen, insect repellent, and even hair products, just to name a few. All these pollutants released by common sources might sound scary, but that's why we have the AQI to monitor them. AQI tells us that in most cities on any given day, primary pollutants are typically not present in high concentrations in the air. Makes you appreciate AQI a little bit more, right? Now, unfortunately, primary pollutants aren't the only kind of air pollution. To fully understand what's going on with air quality, we also need to look at secondary pollutants. Secondary air pollution happens when chemicals and pollutants in the air react with sunlight, water, or other substances to form new pollutants. In other words, secondary pollutants are not released directly, but instead they form over time from chemical reactions. You can think of this like baking a cake. Well, a pollution cake you would never actually want to eat. Primary pollutants are like the ingredients for the cake: flour, sugar, eggs, etc. But when these ingredients are baked together, the chemical reaction changes them into something new, a pollution cake, if you will, or secondary pollution. Now let's look at some real-world examples of secondary pollution. This statue has seen better days, and the culprit is acid rain. When harmful gases like sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides mix with water vapor in the atmosphere, they form acid rain. When this falls to the ground, it can damage buildings, harm plants, and make lakes and rivers too acidic for aquatic life. Another common example of secondary pollution is ground-level ozone. Volatile organic compounds from car exhaust and industrial emissions react with sunlight to form ozone gas, or O3. Now, you might have heard of ozone before and could be wondering, isn't ozone a good thing? And the answer is, it depends. Ozone is helpful when it's high in the atmosphere because it forms the ozone layer, which protects us from the sun's harmful UV radiation. However, at ground level, ozone becomes a major component of smog, a thick, hazy form of air pollution that can make it harder to breathe, especially for people with asthma or other respiratory conditions. Ground-level ozone is more common in cities with heavy traffic and industrial activity, forming a haze we can see, particularly on hot, sunny days. And speaking of pollution in cities, I think we're ready to get to the bottom of my air quality alert. Let's see what was going on. Looks like there was a wildfire yesterday about 50 miles south. The pollution in the air was also very easy to see. Scientists, let's analyze this. Based on what we've learned, what kind of pollution is most likely causing my local air quality alert? Pause and record your thoughts in your guided notes. One likely explanation is primary air pollution caused by particulate matter, tiny bits of smoke, ash, and dust carried by the wind. These particles can travel long distances and make the air harder to breathe, even in areas far from the actual fire. This just goes to show air quality isn't just affected by what's happening nearby. Outdoor air pollution, whether it's particulate matter, harmful gases, or VOCs, can travel long distances and affect communities and ecosystems far away. Understanding different sources of air pollution and their effects allows us to make more informed choices, both as individuals and as a society. That way, we can protect not just our local communities, but the Earth as a whole. And with that, we've wrapped up our lesson on outdoor air pollution. Primary air pollutants, such as particulate matter, are released directly into the air, while secondary air pollutants, like ground-level ozone, form from chemical reactions over time. Air pollution can have widespread consequences, but the story doesn't end there. In our next lesson, we'll look into how science can help us tackle the challenges caused by air pollution. Until then, I'm Caroline, and remember, the air we breathe is a resource we all share. Every choice we make can help keep it clean, so don't underestimate the impact you can have. Stay observant, keep asking questions, and I'll see you next time. Hey, hey.